Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR322. It's WWE TLC 2020, joined once again by Jaxie Scarlett. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. And you?
I'm all good. I'm all good. So, of course, the last time you joined us was Survivor Series. What's your thoughts on WWE since then?
It's been quite up and down, hasn't it? Really. Yeah. I mean, overall, I've been kind of content with what they're producing, but I mean, we'll get there. I'm sure you'll hear my opinion soon.
So, what we'll talk about TLC today. What was your excitement levels leading into this event?
I mean, I think they were kind of 50-50, really. Knowing this was the last pay-per-view of the year, I was kind of expecting dramatics. I was kind of maybe expecting some returns and whatnot, but I was also a little bit skeptic to in terms of storyline telling and storytelling. So.
But I think if you look at this card, the way I was looking at it, it was the fact is that every match on there kind of had a little bit of build to it. It wasn't just put on there for no reason apart from the kickoff match. I think that,
sure.
I think every pay-per-view this year with WWE is kind of match you think, how did that get on the main shoot? Like Elias versus Jeff Hardy or a match like that. I think with TLC we've not really seen that.
Yeah, definitely. They've definitely kind of kept to more storytelling on this pay-per-view than most of the other shows this year.
I think we had that, and I think at least a little bit of excitement. But we start off, and of course, December 20th, 2020. What better way to kick off than with kickoff? We have Charlie Caruso, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. That's JEFFJARRETT, Booker T, and Pete Rosenberg. And one of these things that I thought is that 20 years ago, Booker T and Jeff Jarrett were fighting over the WWE World Title. 20 years later, on the kickoff panel, talking about the pay-per-view. And again, it's just weird what happens in history.
Yeah.
But anyway, we see MVP backstage on a promo. He talks about the New Day being the best tag team ever, 10-time tag team champions. But he says every New Day must end in night. And the only new thing people will be talking about is new tag team champions. We then see Miz joining the panel with Morrison. They're a team and will cash in when the moment comes. Miz is, of course, full of comedy. It could be tonight, and no one is safe, and they will cash it in. And Miz has said when they cash it in, he's guaranteed become WWE champion. We then get questions about Oscar's partner, and of course, R-Truth joins the panel to offer his services to Oscar. He is a 45-time champion, and he does speak Japanese as well. But Oscar will put that into consideration, I guess. And then we go to Graves and Cole to start the action. Our first match is 8-man tag team action. It's Brian, Otis, Gable, Big E versus Corbin, Cesaro, Naka, and Zayn. And how did we get here? Well, WWE loves multi-man matches. It's a chance to fill the card. But out of these 8, who do you think's got the most upside? There's a lot of talent involved this kickoff opener.
I mean, there really was, especially on sort of the face side of the team. I really enjoyed the fact of being able to see Big E and Daniel Bryan both on the kickoff show. It was really nice to see DB. We've not seen him in a while, but I was more excited considering the build-up beforehand for any of this, even though there wasn't any connection between the match itself. We still had that underlying fact of Sami Zayn and Big E. So I was really excited to kind of see what Big E was going to bring to this match.
I think about that. We've seen him with Sami Zayn in recent times on SmackDown. And the thing is, with Nakamura and Cesaro, I mean, these are two guys who are extremely talented. But I think I was hearing rumours that Cesaro's contract's running out maybe in May 2021. And
really?
Yeah, that was the rumours going around that it's coming up soon, and Nakamura's not been a lot of talk. Do you think these two guys might run down their contracts to have I know they always say the grass is greener elsewhere, and a lot of people in AEW would love to have Cesaro, but what do you think that would happen down the road?
Yeah, so this is quite a shock for me. But come to think of it, to be honest, I've been a huge Nakamura and Cesaro fan on separate occasions, not even when they're together, when they've had like their singles runs. And I've been deeply disappointed, really, just kind of the route that WWE have taken with them. They've never really kind of taken off with either of them. Even when Shinsuke was back in the picture going up against AJ Styles, I again, with going back a few episodes, I think me and you discussed about how I feel like WWE let down Asuka's real run when she had that she was unrivaled, and she had that streak going, and then it ended at WrestleMania with Charlotte. I feel exactly the same with Nakamura and AJ Styles. I feel like his run or his push just stopped there, and I was really disappointed because both of them have really great potential to be so great in singles runs. So I'm kind of now eager or excited to think about whether or not they'd actually consider re-signing, or whether or not they'd consider going somewhere else, or whether or not anywhere else would actually, show interest.
Well, the thing is, with New Japan, when Nakamura coming back there, I think it would be so comfortable for him. But like you said, that WrestleMania in itself was just so disappointing on so many different levels. With Nakamura losing to AJ when they could have just, pulled the trigger with that. And the same thing with Asuka and Charlotte as well, without doubt. But it's what I was thinking, even when Cesaro was coming out, how many different entrance gear and music and looks has Cesaro had? I mean, he's had that kind of same base wrestler look. But whether it be like with headphones or, a towel around his neck, or remember when he used to come out just as James Bond and take that off, and it's just he's never found the right character.
Yeah, he's just I just don't feel like he's been given the right kind of push, and I feel like his characters have always been chosen down by creative rather than maybe Cesaro himself. I think he's just really been restrained in what he's been able to show off or what he can do, and I think that's really held him back because he's got so much potential to be sort of in the main event picture, just as much right as Drew McIntyre is in the picture, but I just feel like for some reason I don't feel like Vince believes in him as much as as the fans do.
I think that, and I think the difference between like Cesaro and Nakamura is Nakamura had the character there that was working, especially in NXT, the kind of superstar that he was. And like I said, they dropped the ball with him. So it's two different cases of them kind of mucking up a wrestler. But again, I'm don't want to be negative about WWE because like we've got Big E and Daniel Bryan. Like I said, hopefully Big E can have the next big push, and Bryan's,
Yeah, like the match itself was amazing on all four sides, to be honest. So I don't want it to seem like we were bashing really down on the wrestlers per se. It's more about like, just the case of where they are, where they probably could be in the eyes of us, the viewers. So, but yeah, ultimately the match itself, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was. So let's get on to the action. What happened there? Well, Gable and Zayn started off in the ring. Both men immediately tagged out, so Big E and Corbin could square off. Corbin, his outfit now, he's gone completely into kind of this completely different. It is like the Corbin from NXT compared to Corbin now would be shaking his head,
Yeah, I mean, I really I did question why he thought it would be good to do a half and half trouser leg, but I couldn't. It really irritated me. His ring, I didn't like it.
It's just he's just so, I don't want to say soft, but like, because apparently again the wrestlers really like working with Corbin because he's really kind of nice and soft, so to speak. And you think maybe like instinct would have made that character work a little bit, but again, if he's happy being that kind of mid card heel who is never going to be a world champion, but might be fighting for the Intercontinental, maybe he's kind of happy with that.
I kind of don't feel like he's really been happy for the how long has it been now that he's been declaring himself king? When are we going to get over this this idea of how every person that rings the King of the Ring has to actually act like king and be called king and have a crown and things like that? Because I just feel like sometimes it worked, but it doesn't have to be every time. See, when you look back at King Booker, like that whole stick worked. It worked really well. I'm not even saying that Baron Corbin's not doing a good job with it, but I want them to give him something else because I want to like Baron. Especially when he was going against the Mysterios a couple of weeks back, he was chatting some real truth, and it was funny, like he could be a likable guy at certain points as well, and I feel like he does deserve a change up, but this whole king stick is just old now. I'm over it.
I think without a doubt, and you can even see it, like I said, with the way he's wrestling. But him and Big E did lock up and fought for control. had successful takedown each before Gable and Cesaro came in. The match progressed through a quick pace as both teams cycled everyone in and out of the ring. Cesaro and Bryan had a nice exchange when the ring together. The S-Man ended up spending more time in the ring after the Hills kept him isolated for a while. Otis got the hot tag and started bulldozing over Nakamura. Then we see the obligatory sequence where everyone traded takedowns. Zayn, who was hiding, got the tag, but so did Gable to Big E, who countered Zayn's haluva kick for finished him off with a big ending for the win. So what were your thoughts on that match?
Yeah, it was just kind of a really fun way to kind of start the kickoff show and start TLC in general, to be honest. Like, it's really uplifting to see Big E being given that push because he pinned Sammy, and anyone who's seen any of the advertisements since then have now can see that he's got a championship opportunity, and this is exactly the type of push that WWE are doing well with. This is exactly kind of like the right kind of creative, the right kind of writing to build up a singles character. It's unfortunate that it's only sort of being like kind of focused more on other wrestlers rather than sort of a plethora of them. However, I'm really deeply happy with where things are leading with Big E. He deserves this push more than anyone.
Yes, and I just hope it means more than, again, not. I love the Intercontinental Championship. I think Sami Zayn's a great character, but I want more for Big E. There's no point splitting up the New Day just for a nice title run. There needs to be a kind of bigger goal ahead.
There's got to be a payoff to it. Yeah, it's like starting there. I'd like to see him like sort of work his way up towards, I'm not going to lie. I really kind of wouldn't mind seeing sort of Big E go for a main championship at WrestleMania. I don't know if Vince would actually stick with that, but I mean, this could be a potential upside in him seeing E's potential.
I think without doubt. Well, it's a very standard match. But with the talent involved, this could have maybe been a little bit better. But I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. What's your score out of 5?
Yeah, I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 5 as well.
I think it's pretty standard. Prediction-wise, well, Brandon Scans has been avoiding us since Hell in a Cell. Now, I don't like to toot my own horn too much, but since my co-host left, I've been challenging people for predictions. And Hell in a Cell, I did lose that event to 3 other guys. I have hunted them down and beaten them since then. But Brandon Scans was the one that's been avoiding me. It looked like he was hiding. So fair play to him for his predictions. He went in the first match for the face team, so did I. So it's 1-1 there. We didn't do a poll for that one, but the main show begins. We get the opening promo. Personally, I don't mind TLC as a pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I don't mind it either. However, I don't feel like every other match needs to kind of be that. It kind of feels more... I don't know. I feel like they could get more creative with it. Maybe, some have a chair match or some have a table match, and not just kind of have it sort of like always have to be just completely TLC. However, I feel like ultimately this pay-per-view worked, in my opinion. Is nothing but positive notes in that front. And I don't mind it as a pay-per-view itself. I think there's other ones that probably could be replaced.
Yeah,
but that's for a whole other conversation.
I think with TLC, like I said, if they do it right, and of course we started off the show with a TLC match, we knew we had another one, so a bit like Hell in a Cell, you don't want to kind of be overloaded with these, but like I said, I think it worked out in the end. We see the standard start, long gone are the days of like an innovative beginning, but I think the card sells itself. The set, it's the best they can do. What are your thoughts on Thunderdome? I mean, we've had it now for a little while. Is it better than nothing, or is it actually an improvement in some way?
I mean, I think it definitely looks better than sort of just nothing actually being there. I mean, when you compare what the WWE are in terms of their arena compared to that of AEW, they're outside, so they do have the option of being able to have some fans in the stands again. So I think that they're doing the best with what they've got. However, I don't know if it's something that could like continuously work for like a second year.
Yeah, I think trying to change it up a little bit, and there's talk maybe the Rumble will be a little bit of a reset in January, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. But like I said, we started off with Drew versus Adrian. How did we get here? Well, we start the main card with a W title match. Adrian won his chance to challenge Drew and put McIntyre through a table with help from Owens, and recently teaming up with Miz and Morrison. The odds were stacked up against the champion. What are your thoughts on McIntyre as a champion and the story going into this match?
So I'm really enjoying Drew's run as champion. I kind of like the fact that he kind of lost it and re-won it again. It shows that he's a working wrestler that works hard to keep what is his, and prove that he is on top. So I going into this match, I was kind of eager to see it because AJ is a phenomenal wrestler without a doubt, and he could win that championship and everyone still be on his side, even though he's supposed to be, a heel in this particular match. But at the same time, I was always rooting for Drew.
I think without doubt, I think Drew has had a fantastic 2020, and AJ's one of those guys that can have good matches with anybody. And I think my only problem is with AJ Styles is that he should have been WWE 5 or 10 years before he actually was, because the amount of matches, classic matches that he could have had. But that's only from a selfish point of view. I mean, the stuff he did in TNA is fantastic, but I wish he was longer,
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, but if we look back at the history, TLC 2016, AJ Styles beat Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship in their TLC match. In 2017, lost to Finn Balor in a classic encounter. And in 2018, McIntyre lost to Balor. AJ lost to Bryan for the WWE Championship. Both men had nothing in 2019. These two were meeting for the first time. And we wondered how this would go. And one of the things at the start, McIntyre kicked his kilt. And it hit AJ and held it anyway, but just like throwing it away. But I thought that was quite a nice little touch.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit at that. I didn't see that coming, so that really chuckled me.
Yeah, AJ could have been like, what? But he went with it, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Referee called for the bell, and AJ immediately went for a low dropkick stakeout. Drew McIntyre unloaded on him until he tried to suplex, and the title holder reversed it to deliver a huge slam. The WWE champion began to decimate Styles by using his significant size and power advantage. The top to AJ Styles to the floor sounded absolutely brutal, and I think that's one thing, because of maybe no crowd, you can hear how hard the chops actually are now.
Yeah, that is one thing that I do enjoy more about it. Is it feels like everything's more heightened in terms of being able to hear not only the slaps and the hits that are being taken, but also the falls, and it actually it comes across a lot more dangerous and a lot more exciting.
I think without a doubt, the phenomenal one avoided a suplex through a table, but his rival was able to drop him on the barricade. He grabbed the ladder and tried to set it up in the middle of the ring, but as he climbed up to get the title, Styles hit him in the legs with a chair to bring him back down. McIntyre slingshot him onto the ladder, but AJ caught himself, but didn't block the slingshot into a chair that was wedged into a corner. That always looks good, and especially with AJ just going flying into the chair in the corner. Really cool spot.
Yeah.
The challenger attempted to hit a Styles clash on the ladder, but McIntyre countered into a future shot DDT, then picked up the ladder and hit Styles with it, but didn't get all of it. The phenomenal went back to the knee that brought him down with a chop block. He pulled McIntyre's leg through the ladder to apply a brutal calf crusher. And I mean, the selling was on point in this matchup. I mean, there's one thing about, McIntyre, where people talk about, oh, he's a big man, but the way he was selling that leg, it looked like he had a legitimate injury after a while.
Honestly, I really did wonder whether or not he was going to be able to carry on, or whether or not this match was going to get cut short.
That's, that just tells the story of these two guys. He also used the chair lengthened AJ to hold the more painful submission in a few moments later and kept focusing on McIntyre's legs. They fought out the ring. Styles rammed the ladder into the champion's face before he cleared off a table. He tried to springboard out of the ring, but McIntyre threw a chair into his face. Again, another cool spot, because you're going, oh, what's AJ going to try here? It's going to look quite cool. Then McIntyre just hits him square in the and AJ goes flying out.
That looked like AJ stars.
Yeah. When he favoured his legs, he brought the table to the ring. The Scottish Warrior threw Styles into a ladder with a belly to belly, and there was a great slow motion replay where you just see AJ hitting the steel and then just kind of bouncing off into pain.
Yeah, that was quite a great moment that they managed to capture and slow down.
That's the one thing about, talk about modern technology, to be able to, proper slow down the bump to just see how much pain. Then we see AJ recovering and drilling McIntyre with a phenomenal forearm. He set up another ladder, began to climb. McIntyre pulled him off it low, and in a gorilla press threw him through the table at ringside. And it reminded me just like the good old TLC matches of old,
Yeah, that definitely, it kind of reminded me of, kind of how the Hardy Boys Edge and Christian and the Dudleys would make use of items, and the whole of it wasn't just kind of kept in the ring, it was everywhere.
I remember Christian, getting pushed off the ladder, just holding on and going, well, this is me done now. And it's exactly the same with kind of AJ as well. But then The Miz and John Morrison interfered and put the champion through a table. Morrison cashed in the Money in the Bank contract and turned the contest into a triple threat match. The Miz began to climb the ladder with a smile on his face. But then Omos came to the ring. And that was quite a funny moment because I'm thinking, oh, The Miz has got this now. All of a sudden, he can't quite get up. He looks around and with the kind of hand on his trunks, he pulled him down and then jocked him through another table, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of people knew that, or potentially presumed that The Miz was going to cash in. But the way that he just immediately, tried to climb up the ladder, we all knew that Omos was going to come in sooner or later, and that was kind of him having his moment to shine, just kind of grabbing The Miz and cradling him like he's a baby, and then just kind of chucking him straight into the table. That's just sort of a moment that you'll never get back. And then immediately straight after, seeing John Morrison get in the ring with that chair, and the way that the chair ricocheted off of Omos, it was, I'm not sure if that can be faked or not, in terms of the way that the chair just broke apart.
Well, I was saying it was a great effect and made him look like a monster, especially when he pulled it. The chair's apart and he just looks around like a fly's landed on him.
When are we going to get to see this man in the ring? Seriously.
Well, Omos pursued Morrison up the ramp to the back, and then all three men began to stir, but Styles got to his feet first. He and McIntyre climbed opposite sides of the ladder and began to fight. The Miz up a second ladder next to him and climbed it. And there was a great exchanges towards the end, but all three almost grabbing their title at different points, and after several close calls,
Yeah, real near misses.
Because at one point, The Miz had his hand, you're thinking, oh no, that's it done. And then all of a sudden, I just felt the timing worked perfectly, rather than, when sometimes you just wait, and you're going, wait till my spot comes, or wait till this guy interferes.
It definitely made towards the end, it made you question, wait, is The Miz really going to win this? Especially with his sort of promo on the kickoff, just sort of stating, how confident he was after winning Money in the Bank before, years ago, and being able to cash it in successfully. You just kind of start to think at that moment, oh wait, is there going to be a title change?
I think without doubt, then we see a nice springboard by AJ to go on the ladder. At that point, I'm thinking, oh, it's AJ's time, because I've seen this before. But Drew managing to push both men off and hit the Claymore to The Miz and then go up and get the belt for the victory. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What a match it was.
It was really crazy, and I think things really kicked off to sort of like a 10 come when The Miz decided to cash himself in. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a really great way to start off TLC as a pay-per-view, and it came as a shock, as I did not think that would be the sort of first show to be kicking it off, but I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm very happy that Drew McIntyre retained.
I think without doubt, like I said, everything delivered, and the added drama of the Miz outside interference actually added to the match rather than taking it away. And towards the end, again, last second, you didn't know who was going to be champion. And I think when it does that, I think it's working brilliantly,
Yeah.
So what was your score out of 5 for that match?
My score out of 5 for that was a 4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4.25 with that one. It was excellent match. There's no way, but to start off the show with that, and you're thinking, oh, now the rest of the card's got to try and follow that.
I honestly was thinking that myself, to be honest.
It's going to be difficult, isn't it? You start with TLC with AJ and McIntyre, never meeting before, and the chemistry that they had worked really, really well. But what's the point in Money in the Bank then? The Money in the Bank briefcase, neither. I mean, I know Oscar became champion, but technically she didn't cash it in. We've had Otis, where the idea was horrible. They gave it to The Miz. Is there a point doing a Money in the Bank next year if they just don't care about it anymore?
I mean, to be honest, unless they're going to actually work hard on creating storylines around the Money in the Bank, I don't know if there is much point in it, because, as you rightly said, it kind of didn't manage to work this time. When it came to Oscar and the Becky situation, you could kind of understand from that point of view as to why they had to sort of come up with a quick storyline to divert it. However, everything to do with Otis winning it, from Vince's like real interest in him to just how quick and cold he went off of him, is very off-putting, and it actually reflects onto the how important the briefcase actually is as well to the audience. So in my opinion, unless they're not going to be working on sort of year-long storylines that involve the Money in the Bank, and that's going to work well, I'm not sure it really needs to be a pay-per-view.
But we were talking about this earlier with the Royal Rumble, you know, when Nakamura and Oscar won, and neither of them became successful at WrestleMania. You're thinking, well, what's the point of the match then? You know, anybody could be a number one contender. The whole point of winning a Rumble, winning the Money in the Bank, is that it's an easily told story, you know?
Yeah, and also just kind of sort of like that underdog storyline where they eventually, come out on top, and you have the perfect storylines currently going with both Nakamura and Asuka, and you had them both win the Royal Rumble just to then squash them both, in my opinion, come WrestleMania. It made no sense to me.
And one of the ideas I had, and I don't know why they don't do it in the King of the Ring, and not in the King of the Ring of type of, you know, Corbin winning it and calling himself the king for 2.5 years. But the fact is, I think they did it in the final event in June. You have the King of the Ring, and the winner will get a WWE title shot or Universal Championship at SummerSlam. And then you've got 2 months of build then. You can build your guy up already and then face the champion at SummerSlam, and you can make it in a kind of, you know, the Summer Royal Rumble.
Like used to be it, but that's not really how King of the Ring works anymore, and that's why it's just questionable as to whether or not it should really just still continue on.
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem when it comes to gimmick matches. But anyway, prediction wise, we went Drew McIntyre, Brandon went AJ Styles, so the WNR is 2-1 up. I was quite surprised he went AJ in that one, but hey, polls, McIntyre got 79%, and Chris Smirker said, I picked Drew, then AJ will beat down Drew and The Miz will cash in. Well, The Miz did cash in, but unfortunately, luckily for us, even McIntyre walked out as champion. We then see Caleb Braxton with Heyman. Owens would win the title, die trying, what he says, and Paul says his fault is NASCAR because he likes the crashes. But this is dangerous enough. Owens will be hurt by the Tribal Chief. We then move on to match 3, which is the Women's Championship. How did we get here? Well, Carmella made a return after months away and targeted the boss. Would she be drinking bubbly at the end of the night? It's not a bad build, but is Carmella a serious threat? And what have you thought of the build up to this?
So the build up itself has been quite disappointing. There's not been enough time for us as the WWE audience to really I don't want to insult Carmella here, but it was hard for us to really believe Sasha was going to be losing the title or could potentially lose the title with as little time they had to build a complete storyline around Mella's return, and so I think this was the issue. If it wasn't for the fact that she'd been away for a while and she'd only just returned, there would have been enough time to do a lot more build up to where this could have been seen as, even a potential main event contender. However, when it came to the storyline, I wasn't too impressed when it came to it, but I was still eager to see, what both women were going to do in this match and how things were going to go.
Yeah, and I think with Carmella, she had one of the most annoying characters that they had alongside, called Big Cass and He Shall Not Be Named. And the fact is that they had to kind of repackage her. And when, they gave her the title last time, beating someone like Oscar and Charlotte, which they brought up, you're thinking they did that. But again, it's potential, you move on. And I didn't mind the build. It wasn't bad, we, like I said, do the champagne to the back, but we got onto the match, and as soon as the referee called for the bell, Carmella rolled out the ring. Basically took her time. Sasha Banks took control, scored a quick 2 count. The boss threw the challenger out the ring, but Reginald Melis Sommier caught her. He tossed her at Banks so she could hit a Hurricane Run on the floor. She ran Banks into the steps and brought her back in for a near fall. That was good timing, even though I thought Carmella was going to break her neck when she first went through the ropes.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a near miss. It was one that you had to really kind of look back at it again and just think to yourself, did she really injure herself then?
Yeah. Well, you have to have a good enough catch, but Mella then took over and grounded Banks in the chin lock. She broke free and hit Mitora for 2. Carmella dropped on the apron and the boss fell hard to the floor. The Princess of Staten Island pulled her out of submission while verbally berating her. And once again, Banks escaped to build some momentum with the Three Amigos. She followed up with a frog splash for a close 2 count. There was a really nice exchange, and Carmella hit a huge face buster off a tilt-a-whirl, but failed to keep the title holder down for a pin. I think that's what I was most impressed in the matchup, the way they and I was like, well done, Carmella. Not patronising, but you know, like, well, no, that was well done.
It just goes to, we've not seen her in actually wrestling in a while, because I was very impressed with kind of not only Carmella's momentum, but you know, like I felt like she had changed things up, so we were seeing a new, different Mella in the ring.
I think without a doubt, she then used the 5 count fully to apply some illegal holds to the rope. She drilled Banks with a super kick, but the champ grabbed the bottom rope to break the count. They traded pinning combinations until Mella applied the code of silence. She transitioned to a double chicken wing, but had to release it when Banks rolled over into a cover. The boss locked her into a Banks statement, pulled Mella out of the ring. Banks took him out with Meteor for the apron, which allowed Carmella to hit her with a pair of super kicks for a close 2 count. The champ countered into a Banks statement one more time to get the submission victory and retain her title. What are your thoughts on that match?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say that was probably Mella's best match to date, and I was really impressed with everything that she came out with. But secondly, I was super happy to see Sasha retain the championship. As everyone's been kind of rightly saying, she usually ends up having short reigns with her titles, so I was really pleased to see that she's retained this time around.
One of these thoughts I had, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but you know how certain commentators are associated with certain wrestlers, so like always with JR and Stone Cold Steve Austin, Tony Schiavone with Sting. Michael Cole absolutely loves the boss. Every time Sasha Banks comes out, Michael Cole is on it. And I don't know if he's kind of been told to do it, or if he's just a huge fan, but you can just tell there's love there, can't you?
You really can feel the enthusiasm coming from him, even though you can't actually see him commentating.
Because it's just the man. I mean, and you can do a drinking game every time he mentions the boss. I mean, you would be absolutely slaughtered by the end of it.
Try that next time.
Right, but the question is, who's next for Sasha Banks then? I mean, Carmella put up a good fight, but obviously, who would you want to see next?
It's really tough to say, to be honest, because right now, when it comes to sort of the other women on the SmackDown roster, you've got Bianca Belair, who's sort of building herself up. But I also kind of don't want to see her rushed into a title picture, because I do think Bianca Belair is a potential person who could go to WrestleMania with this. You know, I was actually a bit shocked because she was MVP for Royal Rumble last year, and I would have loved to have seen her and Shayna have sort of squared off for that position. Unfortunately, Charlotte Flair won it, of course. But that being said, I do want to see her in the title picture, but I don't want to see her get pushed down just yet. I don't want it to go too fast, just like what we've seen with Mella, because I don't really want to see sort of like another pay-per-view where she's defending against Carmella again. I think that needs to sort of change. They need to change that up, instead of having repeated matches on like two or three pay-per-views in a row. So yeah, I'm really not sure who they could potentially bring in, because there's not really been any building of any woman, any other woman as of yet on SmackDown that I can think of that would be a credible threat. I mean, who would you suggest?
Well, it's like you said, it's a difficult one. I mean, maybe you'd have a multi-round match, but the question is like, who have they got in mind for Mania as well? So do they kind of work back from that? I think the thing is, when you've got Sasha Banks, who is such a strong champion, you can put your Bianca Belairs, you can put your certain other wrestlers in there, and I think she will deliver. I think the only thing that I don't want to see is, like you said, an instant rematch or a series of matches with Carmella, because I think she showed there this is what she can do, but she'll need time to come back round again.
Have her sort of rebuild herself back up and sort of dominate some of the other women within like other matches, and get her in other feuds for the moment. Make her come across as if, you know, that was just a fluke and she could potentially take that title the next time she gets that shot, you know. So hopefully they don't sort of run this to the ground with her.
No, without a doubt, because the character's there, so they can rebuild her. But out of 5 for the score, I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5 because the women in that matchup, and when Carmella's involved, I've had some bad experiences with her in the past, but this was a really good match, so 4 out of 5 for me.
So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4.5 because it was one of my favourites.
Well, prediction-wise, Brandon went Carmella.
Oh.
So that, yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. I didn't force him into this. This is his own predictions. We, of course, we went Sasha Banks. So it's 3-1 to the WNR at the moment. Poll-wise, yeah, well, basically, poll-wise, 79% to Sasha Banks. And then we see Billie Kay handing her resume to Asuka. She can also speak Japanese, much like R-Truth earlier, and has her own mask. But Asuka says the position has been filled. And then we get a word with the New Day. They are big match players, and New Day rocks. And, of course, that leads to match 4. Our Raw Tag Team titles on the line. How do we get it? Well, since the New Day have been on Raw, they have business. What are your thoughts on this feud, Hurt Business and New Day?
I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed seeing, every single member of the New Day sort of being given a push of sorts. I feel like they all deserve it. And you just can never go wrong with the New Day, can you? And especially having Xavier Woods back, it's just even more exciting as potential matches.
I love the New Day because it shows how organic something can be. Of course, they came together, and everybody knows the stories. They were good guys getting booed, but it was the kind of just having their own idea what they wanted to accomplish, even if they weren't put in a position on the card, and then WWE had no choice but to use them. And I think a lot of other wrestlers can have a look at this and go, if we come up with a character, if we come up with an idea and we back it 100%, then they're going to have to use us,
Yeah.
But with the Hurt Business, I think they've been going... Cedric Alexander's kind of joined the team. I think it's been really working out,
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been really pleasant to see from where Cedric Alexander has begun with the Hurt Business, and just as you're about to explain throughout the match, just where he's gotten to at this moment.
Yeah, and what I loved about MVP's kind of promo on the kickoff, and even what he's been saying before, saying about these guys have been great. They are great. Alexander, great cruiserweight champion. They just need to kind of rediscover it. And that's the kind of thing he's been saying about Benjamin, about Lashley, and about the group, which I think Hurt Business is a little bit different to other groups because they're saying, like, we can, as in, like, we rebuild these guys and make them stars that they are,
Yeah. They're doing it the right way this time.
Yeah, well, hopefully. So let's get on to the action. We get Kofi Kingston in the match. The Hurt Business member ran into a super kick to give the New Day man a quick 2 count. Xavier was tagged in and hit a huge diving leg drop for another near fall, looking like they were going to try and finish the action early. Benjamin reached for a tag as he watched the New Day take turns beating up his partner. Benjamin saved him for a pin, and Alexander was able to make the tag. The gold standard unleashed a couple of textbook suplexes on Woods, while MVP helped Alexander at ringside. Can I just say, how great does Shelton Benjamin look? He
really does. I'm just as impressed with him, and as I think I've explained before, back when Shelton Benjamin was with Charlie Haas, as part of Team Angle, he was great back then, and I just don't see a difference in his performance. He's just, if anything, he's just gotten a bit more exciting, especially joining the Hurt Business.
Honestly, it's incredible when you're seeing it. But then we see the New Day take control, and Woods hit a tornado DDT to Benjamin, the former United States champion, hit a knee to the face and sent Woods out the ring and rolled him back in for a 2 count. The Hurt Business used quick tags to cut the ring in half. Woods eventually made the tag, and Kingston came in hot with a springboard drop kick. Benjamin impressively countered the boom drop by popping up and catching Kingston in the air, but the former WWE champion managed to keep the upper hand. That was a great sequence as well between the two.
It really was.
He then took out both opponents to set up their trouble in paradise. Alexander dodged it and nailed him with a jumping knee followed by a brainbuster. Woods barely managed to break up the pin and took him out so they could focus on the one man. Kingston rallied, but Benjamin brought him down from the top rope with a superplex. And then Alexander got the blind tag in, hit the lumbar check for the pin to win the Raw titles. I mean, Benjamin wasn't happy, but a huge win and pin for Cedric to pin a former WWE champion and become tag team champions himself. What were your thoughts on that match?
I mean, it was definitely one of the highlights of the night as well. I mean, for me, I was kind of 50-50 on who I wanted to win because I love both teams so much. And I just am enjoying the push that Hurt Business are getting. So I kind of wasn't too mad, especially with having Cedric Alexander, as you rightly said, pin a former champion. And it was just overall exciting, in my opinion. I don't feel like this affects New Day in terms of their credibility or anything. And I just think overall this match was greatly done and well put together.
New Day, you could put them in with any tag team and they would deliver a great match. I think there's something just special about them. I think we're going to look back in 10 or 20 years' time and put the New Day up or even above some of the greatest tag teams of all time. It's the connection, it's the chemistry, it's just perfect what they do. And like I said, they will become tag team champions again and we will be celebrating at some point. One thing I don't want to happen straight away, I don't mind Benjamin and Cedric having a little bit of trouble, but please can we build up a stable and a team up?
Yeah, I agree.
Because at all times, we've seen it with this year with Heavy Machinery or anybody else. They just split a team up because they think it's a good idea. The Iconics is probably the worst choice of them doing it this year.
Worst decision that they could have ever done. As much as I must admit, I just wanted to quickly say I'm really loving everything to do with Billie Kay. She's just brilliant, the way she's promoting herself, everything. I really do hope that she does get some form of push or showing soon. But I did not realize that I'd missed the Iconics until they were gone, and I deeply regret the fact that Vince decided to split them up.
It was money, iconic. It was just so good. Anyway, thoughts on the match. Like I said, Kofi had his teeth knocked out by a knee to the face, and like I said, 17 years ago, or 17 years since Benjamin was tag team champion with Charlie. As the time go, of course, Benjamin dedicated this to Shad Gaspar as well, which again is a fantastic thing to do. Out of five for this match, what are you going to score it?
I'm going to score it a 4.
I can't agree. I can't disagree. Like I said, at the moment, TLC, the main show itself is just delivered match after match, and this is another one. A great tag team match. Right team won. Hurt Business have all the gold. It's set up brilliantly for the new year now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to give that a strong 4. And prediction-wise, well, Brandon came back and he did the Hurt Business, but I also we did Hurt Business as well, so it's 4-2 there. Poll-wise, Hurt Business got 63% of the vote. And then we see Sami Zayn doing his best Tom Cruise impersonation backstage, talking about how unhappy he is and how unprofessional everybody is. And then we move on to match 5, which is Tag Team Championships. How we got here? Well, Lana was targeted by the champs and needed a partner, so of course Asuka stepped up. Unfortunately, Lana was injured, so that means she needs a new partner. I know you're probably Asuka's biggest fan. What were your thoughts on this matchup and Asuka's treatment? Because we've talked about this a couple of times now.
Yeah, we have. So I went into this pay-per-view already kind of having I wouldn't say spoilers ruined for me, but we all heard the rumors, and I sort of pretty much kind of figured that they'd be true as well. So look, I just want to make one thing clear. I don't actually have an issue with Charlotte Flair. I think she's a phenomenal wrestler. I think she has some of the greatest feuds. I think she is great at building people up, although she doesn't do it that much. However, yeah, I've got this goes back to from what we've even talked about before at WrestleMania. I have got an issue with you deciding to team up someone who, in my opinion, still has unfinished blood with Asuka, and that is Charlotte Flair, considering she kind of lost her streak to her. I think it's like twice now that she's lost the title to Charlotte Flair, or lost within those sort of big matches. Even if she was to come back and then feud with Asuka, I would have liked to have seen that even. But them as tag team partners, I'm really not pleased with that. I kind of would have actually even been more happier with the payoff of having Lana actually become a champion with Asuka. I would have preferred them go down that route with her. Even if they did want Charlotte to return, I don't think it needed to be in this fashion, and to have her return and on the same night then get given the title as well. It really does show privilege that is given throughout the company, and it just doesn't sit well with me. And that's, again, nothing to do remotely with Charlotte or her profession. She's great at what she does, but that is my honest opinion.
I think.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But that's the whole point. We you can vent any frustration. But I think for me, like, Oscar's been Royal Women's Champion now since kind of Money in the Bank, and they've not done a lot with her. The storyline, she was involved in the Banks and Bailey thing. I was involved in the Lana thing, and it seems like even the tag team titles, the women's tag team titles, are secondary and get used as with the championship, much like it did. And it's like, no, you don't have to interconnect it. It can be different,
It really can. I mean, Oscar has, without a doubt, anyone could actually back me up when I say Oscar has pretty much been carrying Raw for the women's side since the departure of Becky. And not only that, but she's delivered great content. However, she is not being allowed to kind of have those individual feuds, and continuously has been sort of like now being pushed into this sort of tag team division when we've got so many other women, a plethora of women that should deserve opportunities and are already tag teams that could have been having such great feuds already. We could have done with having Oscar have her own sort of limelight, but I feel that was overshadowed by the return of Charlotte, and that's not a problem that it's Charlotte, but again, you then stuck a title straight on her, and it's like, we don't always. Charlotte Flair is one of those wrestlers, again, just like AJ Styles, that doesn't necessarily need a title on her to be great or to be a part of great matches or great feuds. So there's no need for it. But then just seeing the way that it's handed to her just doesn't sit right with people. And I know that there's a lot of Twitter hate out there for the way that she returned. I don't have hate with her returning. I actually really enjoy a lot of her matches, and I think she's a great wrestler. But I do have an issue with them sort of teaming her up with Asuka. I don't think that was needed at all.
Well, there's like three things now. First off, the thing that annoyed me is in my head on Thursday, Friday, I had Charlotte as the mystery partner. And then the news broke over the weekend, and I thought, well, if I say that now, I'm just going to look like I've copied everybody else, So next time I do it, I'm just going to take a picture so I can timestamp it. The thing about Asuka, yes, she's kind of misconsistent, shall we say, of the women's division these past couple of years. And I think at some points she could become secondary because you go, well, she's all right like that anyway, so we can focus on this. The whole point of Charlotte coming back is I've been a Charlotte hater more than anybody, especially... You don't know how dark that day was. She beat Asuka at WrestleMania for me, Yeah. But the level really
with me still.
Well, let's say I'm not over it, but the level of consistency Charlotte has shown in big match situations and pay-per-views, you can't deny that. But don't book her like you would a John Cena or Roman Reigns when she's been away for 6 months and the fans might actually be happy to see her. You give her a championship and then shove her down her throat straight away.
Exactly. And that's kind of what they've done.
I knew what they were going to do, but I weren't really happy with it. So, like we said, we get onto the match of the champions.
I really would actually have preferred her to have interrupted Sasha Banks' match and just, kind of set herself up to have a feud with Sasha. I would have preferred that than her returning as Asuka's partner, to be honest.
Yeah, so we're going to get onto that in a minute. We know what's going to happen. But anyway, the champions make their entrance first. The WWE can view Asuka's partner, as like you said, as Charlotte Flair. Asuka and Baszler started off with a nice exchange of strikes and takedowns. The Queen asked for a tag. The Empress was happy to oblige. Charlotte ran May Star with a clothesline and tried to lock the figure four right away. Baszler got her feet and tagged in Jax. Flair brought her to the corner in a headlock, so she tagged Asuka. The Irresistible Force easily countered the sunset flip and hit a big headbutt. She threw Asuka's shoulder into the post and then held her down so Baszler could stomp on her left arm. She manipulated the joints of the Empress to cause more pain. Now, I don't like Baszler. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like her as a worker. I love Asuka. And when Asuka was kind of not screaming out in pain, but I was going, come on, Asuka, you're... And in my head, I'm going, you're much stronger than Baszler's kind of joint manipulation. You know what you're doing. And I feel myself getting lost into the match of actually like a legitimate contest, going, no, Asuka, you're better than Baszler. Don't let her take you down.
Well, see, so I actually, so Shayna Baszler's grown on me, to be honest. I wasn't impressed at first, and I feel like she has grown on me, but not a part of this storyline as a singles person. To be honest, they were going the right way with her when they were building up that feud with her and Nia Jax, having Nia Jax taking out, her friends like Marina and Jessamine. They were going that right way, and then all of a sudden they just did a 360 and then had them pair together. So for me, I've not been a fan of this, but the one thing I will give WWE is that they did, when it comes to continuity, they did bring. The only reason why they brought Charlotte into this probably is because of the fact that they went with the sort of, Nia Jax injured her, so she wants her revenge sort of thing. So you've got to give them credit for that. But at the same time, I feel like we would get such a great match between just one-on-one between Shayna and Asuka. I feel like that is the feud that we should be building at this stage.
Yeah, I think the chain wrestling involved in that, and we even saw it a little bit in this match as well, where you went for the Kirifu, the Asuka lock, but we see the champions dominating Asuka for a long time before she's able to make the tag to the Queen. We see Ric Flair showing backstage watching, because that's what you want in these times. A 70-year-old man who's not been well.
Charlotte still needs to have her handheld, yeah.
Well, it's not just. It's like he is a high risk, and they're wheeling him out to be backstage. And it's like it's not worth. He's not being well. It's like.
And is it really necessary for him to be there? Really, I'm pretty sure Charlotte can get it done without him needing to be there. But again, that's all just for show. That's all just for everyone to sort of like pick up on and things like that. But sometimes these things aren't needed. And if anything, all you're doing is just putting an old man at risk.
That's what I'm saying, exactly. And we see Charlotte unloading on Jax through chops. She hit a big boot for a 2 count. She took out both opponents with a moonsault. I mean, that was classic Flair. And then Jax was able to count the figure 4. Asuka then made a blind tag and hit a missile dropkick. Baszler came in and tried to apply the Kirifu to clutch. Flair tagged back in and put Baszler in the figure 8. Jax pulled Charlotte's arm out from under her so Baszler could break the hold. The Queen then hit natural selection for the pin to win the women's tag team titles with Asuka. Beating Baszler, I thought maybe they would protect her, but obviously they're doing it with Jax. And I thought it was kind of just over then. You're going, oh, the match is over,
I was disappointed with having Baszler take the pin, because I do feel like, again, as I just said about having Baszler become a potential singles feud threat for Asuka, and considering the storyline of, Nia Jax was the one who injured Charlotte, I felt like it would have been better for Charlotte to have pinned Nia, and I also don't feel like Nia needed to. I felt like Nia should have been the one to take the pin throughout all of this storyline. So that did come across disappointing to me. However, I'm just hoping now they're going to actually kind of do things the right way. I really would love to see Shayna get a singles push and them slowly build her up as a potential threat for Asuka.
But do you think that this will just mean that Charlotte is going to take the title off Asuka at some point?
I'm really hoping that they're not going to do this. We've seen this so much, like, especially recently with, the Asuka and Bayley and even Otis and Tucker. We've seen so many sort of partners turning on one another. I think right now Charlotte just needs to. I feel like this tag team win for them needs to be short-lived, and I feel like Charlotte needs to kind of be preoccupied with something else for the moment. I don't really want to see her immediately go into a feud with Asuka. That's not something that I want to see building up towards WrestleMania.
I just got a horrible, when you get that horrible feeling in your stomach.
Thing too, and I'm just like, don't make me do the inevitable and be done with WWE. Don't do this to me, please.
Well, out of 5 for that match, I'm going to give that 3 3/4 out of 5. Like I said, it wasn't a bad match, but I think it was the whole point of Charlotte's return, Charlotte getting a win, Charlotte is champion,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm going to give it a 3.5, and the only reason why it's as high as it is purely for everything we got with Asuka, because as you said, she is my number one. However, it could have been higher if the partner hadn't been Charlotte Flair. I really would have sufficed with having Asuka win the titles even alongside Lana. I would have actually happily felt like that story, that arc would have been fully finished and told then, especially with everything that's been given to Lana. I feel like she was kind of cheated out of potentially having that title win. And to be honest, I don't understand why they didn't go with her. So yeah, it's going to have to just stay at 3.5 for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Prediction-wise, Brandon went Oscar, and so did the WNR, so it's 5-3 on predictions. Poll-wise, Oscar got 80%. And then we see a really weird advert, Drew versus 2020. You see 2020 going around just beating everybody up and then getting beaten up. 2021 saved the day. I thought I was tripping out at one point. What were your thoughts?
I have no idea what WWE thought they were doing, thinking that was a great idea to do that, but I was actually horrified by it.
It was just so weird.
That was the worst advert of 2020, in my opinion. Seriously.
I was going, oh my god.
Awful. It was actually awful. They really didn't need to do that. We all know 2020 has been a shit year, but that, yeah, I don't have anything else to say.
No, I think that is fair. Then see Big E backstage. Sami Zayn confronted him, and Big E get a little bit serious. Do you think we will see Big E lose it at one point, or does he need to lose it? Because I think the thing about Big E that I like so much is that he's not a generic kind of angry big man. Yeah, he's got all these different character things.
I still, again, personal opinion, but I still believe that we don't really need to do much changing with Big E. I mean, as you saw that little stint between him and Sami Zayn, he can be like funny but serious at the same time, and that's kind of what we need at the moment. We don't need one who's ultimately serious and then one who's a complete goofball that keeps losing all the time. Like, we can actually have someone who's genuinely funny in a title reign and in a title picture, regardless as to whether or not it's the Intercontinental or the tag teams. So I feel like I don't want them to change E too much, but I feel like when he needs to, he will show us how serious he can get, and I believe that everyone will appreciate the seriousness that E gets on the occasions that it comes out. But I think them trying to kind of make him too serious would actually take away from how much love that he's got from the WWE audience at the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we move on to match 6 and its Universal title. And how did we get here? Well, Owens is a family man, but Reigns is head of the table. What are your thoughts on this feud? And where do you see Owens on the card, or just in general? Because there's a lot of, we talk about Twitter and other people. Some people see him as a main eventer. Some have seen him as a mid-card. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I really was worried because I love Kevin Owens personally. I think whichever feuds he's actually ever in, it's just he always makes them great. He always brings great content, great storyline, and sometimes can save certain storylines as well. So I've always been a fan of his. However, I really worried about him going into this match, considering how much he got beat up on the SmackDown at Go Home show beforehand. So I really did actually worry about what kind of condition his body realistically was in for this match going into it. And we all kind of like knew or had an underlying feeling that, there was going to be more involvement than just Roman in this match. So yeah, there was a slight worry me going into this match.
I think the thing with Owens, he's proven that he can do a lot of things. I look at Kurt Angle as a kind of wrestler where you could be funny and sadistic and all these different type of things. And I think Owens has definitely got that when it comes to it. And I think with the stunner and the way he was with Shane McMahon in the feud, I think they could have gone, right, let's go with him, but they never have. And I think as a face, as a heel, and much like Sami Zayn, I think these two guys can do a lot more than just thing. Again, the beating that he took and the story leading up to it, again, was quite good. And Owens saying to Heyman, like, you've seen the punishment I can take in matches that don't matter. And with everything on the line, what do you think I'm going to do? Interesting enough, Reigns has lost the TLC for the WWE Championship against Sheamus at TLC 2015. And then December 18th, 2016, WWE Roadblock in December, obviously. Owens beat Reigns by DQ Universal Championship. So that was 4 years ago. And, of course, Owens would then go on to lose to Goldberg in, 30 seconds and get squashed. I thought the story was there for Owens to beat Reigns and then go on and say, right, Goldberg, let's have that match that I've always wanted. Let's have the rematch. I knew they weren't, but it was there for them to do it, wasn't it?
Yeah, agreed. But again, I also feel like this was, sort of one of those storylines that was just really encapsulating. Again, Kevin Owens just can do really well in storylines, and these are the type of storylines that work in his favor. I think a lot of people were on his side, especially with kind of the way Roman's treatment is of, or has been, of his cousin. But at the same time, right now Roman is just on doing so well, and this is like a complete new different Roman that I think anyone's ever seen in this business so far. So it's really exciting to see where things are going to be taken with him.
I think we have that, and I think there's a lot of that in WWE at the moment. When we look on Sasha Banks as, SmackDown Women's Champions, Hurt Business going along on Raw now. Oscar, of course, is Women's Champion. There's a kind of, if they can mess it up, but there's a lot of bricks in places, so to speak, that they can work on in 2021. Maybe that advert's right. Maybe 2020 will be out of the video. Anyway, on to Roman Reigns. Came out with Paul Heyman by his side, calls to defend the Universal title. The Tribal Chief watched closely as the title was raised above the ring, and KO appeared out of nowhere to attack him while he was distracted. He beat down the big dog and hit a cannonball in the corner. He followed Reigns out of the ring and hit another cannonball against the barricade. He got in the apron for a frog splash for grabbing a ladder and putting it in the ring. Now, for me, Owens was showing shades of Mick Foley and Stone Cold. In a way, I know obviously people go, oh, the Stunner, well, that's Austin. But it's kind of every man, this blue chipper of, you look at Owens, and even with me, you go, I can relate to Owens because I probably look like more than Kevin Owens than I do Roman Reigns. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so then, and even the kind of jumping off the turnbuckle onto the apron is a bit like Mick Foley as well. And of course, Roman Reigns, we talk about how good he's been, with shades of kind of The Rock and those type of characters with the confidence as well,
Yeah, definitely. I have to agree with you there.
Anyway, Jey Uso ran down to help. He was able to take him out with a chair. He hit Reigns for good measure before going back to Uso and stomping on his ankle to neutralise him for as long as possible. Kevin Owens on fire, baby. He then hit a drive-by dropkick to Owens as official Hype Uso to the back. The champion used a set of steel stairs to do some damage, and Heyman watched with his mouth agape as the brutality. Reigns used the ladder as a weapon for bringing some chairs into the ring. He ended up putting Owens through the chairs with a back body drop before he tossed him out of the ring. That was brutal, but the prize back.
It was crazy. It was one of those moments where you just really couldn't keep yourself quiet, and you have to kind of react to that pain.
The prize fight though came back in with a chair and beat down the champion, and both men were playing their roles. We talk about the kind of defiant, babyface and Kevin Owens never giving up, and Roman Reigns with kind of this cocky kind of, superheroes going, I don't really have to do a lot. It was played to perfection again.
Agreed.
Well, then the chair was set up and Owens hit a fisherman suplex to Reigns right on it. Even Heyman was shocked by the look on his face. Uso showed up again to prevent him from climbing the ladder.
He had some greatest expressions on his face throughout the whole of that match.
It's just the way he's going. It's like Heyman is a genius in a way where he can do, like he said, with just one look, you know exactly what he's thinking,
Yeah, for sure.
We see Uso trying to prevent Owens from climbing the ladder. The Tribal Chief hit a Superman punch, and Uso grabbed the table, but KO hit Reigns with a stunner, and Uso with a super kick out of desperation. He put the ladder back up and tried to climb, but Uso again pulled him, and then under the ropes, but Owens power bombed him through the announce table. And at this point, I thought Owens had actually had it, because you got Reigns down, he's taken Uso out, and you're thinking, come on. KO and Reigns fought in the ring until the champ power bombed the challenger onto a ladder, bounced the bounce of a man weighing 300 pounds. We talked about AJ Styles earlier. Owens was even sicker.
If he doesn't have any broken bones after this, I'm gonna be deeply shocked.
That the back bump was worse on the ladder when they missed it on the first time. I could have shown a replay. There was no give whatsoever, no give, and Owens just went bang.
Yeah. It's harsh.
Well, the big dog brought him out of the ring and put him through another table, and then a Samoan drop through another Reigns went in for the title, but KO grabbed his foot. The champion laughed as he climbed back down to deal with what he saw as merely a nuisance. Owens slapped him and Reigns speared him through a table. Was it maybe one last act of defiance from Owens? But somehow KO got back to his feet outside the ring and told Reigns he would have to kill him. The title holder lined up for a spear, but moved, and he went through the barricade. The prize fighter climbed the ladder, but Reigns managed to grab his leg and pull him down. Owens hit 2 super kicks and a pop-up powerbomb attempt countered into a Superman punch, but Owens managed to do it a second attempt, and he pop-up powerbombed him through a table. Uso then stopped him from taking down the title and gave the tribal chief enough time to climb up and choke KO on top of the ladder. Reigns grabbed the title to get the win. What a match. Personally, I think Owens should have won. Could have switched the title back to Reigns either in New Year or Rumble, and it would have helped Owens' character out so much, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see a title change happening here, but it was so close. I mean, you were really kind of on edge, really wondering whether or not that title change was really going to happen. I'm not totally mad at the fact that Owens didn't win this. I still think that he came across as so credible. That man would not stay down. He took so many bumps, he took so many hits. You just think to yourself, like, you know, could there be more potentially coming from this? Like, you know, this is one of those ones where I'd be excited if I wouldn't be surprised if they had, you know, KO go away, you know, and have some time off, you know, and say, you know, there was a full-on injury from this, and then revisit this feud again, because I think both of them just worked so well together. It was just, again, probably the best match for me, in my opinion.
Well, this felt like a main event match. I mean, I thought, how can they possibly follow this destruction that we've just seen, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think this should have been the main event, personally.
Well, after what happened in the main event, which we're going to get on to, I think I can see why. Like, but at that point in time, I'm going, well, there's no way they're going to follow this, you know.
Yeah.
And then the Wyatt match said, hold my beer, I suppose. But out of 5, what would you give this match?
So I gave that 4.5.
I would have to say this is, I'm going to give it a 4 3/4 out of 5. I think it was better than the first TLC match of the evening. Yes, Uso's interference could have annoyed me, but it's all part of the story, which I can always appreciate, you know. Reigns, by my count, has delivered a near enough match of the year quality match on pay-per-view since his return. Yeah, the payback triple threat match might not have been great, but the one we saw at Night of Champions, at Hell in a Cell, Survivor Series against McIntyre, and now against Owens. This man is just so on it at the moment, isn't he?
Just like we said with Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, since his return, has just been on a real high this year, and I'm really excited to see kind of what else he's going to bring next year.
I think without doubt, I think it's so exciting. Prediction one. We both, well, Brandon went Roman, I went Roman, so it's 6-4 there, so it's basically over and done with. What we will do final scores. Polls, Reigns got 65%. Then we find out the Royal Rumble is the 31st of January. Are you in for that?
Yep, I'll be watching that for sure. That's one of my favorite pay-per-views of the that comes from the beginning of the year, so I'll definitely be on that.
Or do you want to build a WNR for that? I mean, like I said, the Rumble is a huge event, isn't it?
Yes, that would be great. Yes, amazing. That would be amazing. I'd love to.
Like I said, the Rumble is so much fun. How can they possibly muck it up this year? We'll have to find out. We then find out. We then find out Big E versus Zayn is for the IC title on SmackDown. And also, they've announced that steel cage match between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. So the feud is continuing for now.
How is he able to do this? Seriously, he was beaten up and pummeled with tables, ladders, and chairs on Friday night. Then he actually just went ahead and did the exact same thing and was pummeled with tables, ladders, and chairs on Sunday night. And now you're telling me that on Friday night he's going to go into a Hell in a Cell? What's wrong with this guy?
I don't, you know, management don't like Owens. I don't know if you can work out that at the moment.
They're just like, you know what, we're just gonna. You're good, okay, good. No broken bones, great, because you got a Hell in a Cell next week.
And don't worry, at the Rumble you'll be fighting Orton in a Firefly Inferno match. So I think we'll be fine.
Oh my gosh.
Well, speaking about the Firefly Inferno match, let's get on to our main event. And how did we get here? Well, this dates back to when Orton joined the Wyatts and actually won the tag team titles with Harper at TLC 2016. Orton then burned down the Wyatt compound and took the W title from Bray Wyatt, but the Fiend wanted revenge. What are your thoughts on this feud?
I just I wasn't really invested, if I'm truly honest. And it's not to be mean. I feel like I'm a little bit overdone and overrun with Randy Orton, if I'm being truly honest. And I just kind of have had enough of him for a little while. So I went into this match with high hopes, like, you know, kind of being more on the side of Bray Wyatt. But I also was really curious as to how they were going to do this. I presumed it could be potentially back where they had the original match, where it was in like their barn house or something. But of course I was wrong.
Well, this is the thing. The ring announcer, we didn't know. The ring announcer stated the same rules as a normal Inferno match before Orton made his entrance. So it was only called a Firefly Inferno match because Bray Wyatt was involved. Anybody expecting like a cinematic match was disappointed. This affected my predictions as well, because I thought the Fiend would win unless it was being set on fire, which then be Orton. But of course, you can't give two predictions, so I just went the Fiend. I won it anyway; it's not a problem. But you kind of didn't know what you were going into, you know.
Yeah.
Orton was clothed, which again I didn't have a problem with. You know, when he came out, I'm not saying that. He took cages to get to the ring as he normally does as well.
Maybe
and then go on.
He really, like, he's not the Undertaker. He needs to step it up. He's not got a limp. He's got no excuse. It's just like, we don't need to actually hear his how long his entrance theme is. He really just does need to speed things up.
Yeah, he's like the sloth in Zootropolis. He just, you know, likes to take his.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, so the bell rang and both men stared at each other as the Viper circled the Fiend. He took the first shot, but Wyatt laughed it off like it was nothing. After Wyatt hit Sister Abigail, he motioned, and the flames appeared around the ring. Now, this was different setup than most Inferno matches. The fire was by the barricade instead of on the apron. It was a cool visual, but made little sense because obviously you wouldn't set fire to someone in the ring. So it was on the barricade on there. What were your thoughts on the setup when you first saw it?
I mean, I again, I don't really know if I'm impressed by these type of matches. Not only is it really kind of just dangerous to play with fire, especially with wrestlers and things like that, but ultimately, again, because of my lack of anticipation towards Randy Orton, I just was kind of ready for it to kind of be over and done with. So for me, I was just kind of watching and hoping it was going to be a short one. I was not expecting what we did get, though.
No, without doubt. We had no commentators at ringside. Wyatt grabbed a belt and lit it on fire. He tried to hit Orton with it, but missed. The Fiend found a pickaxe under the ring, as you do, and tried to slay Orton with it. He doused a rocking chair in gasoline and left a trail leading to it. He sat the Legend Killer in the chair, the trail. Orton moved at the last second to avoid being lit up. I mean, what a way that would have been to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I did consider to myself, is this man actually going to move, or is he just going to let himself be, you know, on fire? I didn't know. I hesitated for a second there.
It was the quickest he's moved in like 15 years. So I mean, that is quite impressive.
Fast coming out to the ring.
That's what you need to do. Just follow him with petrol and speed him up a little bit. Anyway, like you said though, fire can't be controlled, and that's what's really scary about this, is the fact that you can't control it, even if it's in a certain environment. If it wants to go, it's going to go, you know.
And I know they wanted to go out with a bang, and I get it, it's WWE, so like the dramatics always would be there. However, I ultimately wasn't impressed with this match, and if anything, I just think that again, all they've done is take away everything that is great about the Fiend.
Well, this is what we saw here, look, because we had Orton using the axe handle and the steel steps to attack Wyatt. He almost put the Fiend's face into the fire, but Wyatt broke free. He grabbed the axe handle, lit it on fire, but Orton knocked it out of his hand. The Fiend applied the mandible claw, but Orton pushed him into flames. and set him ablaze. I mean, at this point, I was going, holy shit. One of the things I did notice was the Thunderdome was repeating face, obviously, because it was filmed. They only had to use, a couple of faces and stuff like that, which again is fine. But like I said, when he had the Mandible Claw on and he was on fire, I was like, oh, fucking hell. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those moments where
I kind of was like, they're taking it a little bit too far, in my opinion. Like, we all like a bit of kayfabe, but that's what we get with, them giving us this fake relationship with Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah, yeah. But when it comes to, sort of actually setting a man on fire, I don't think we needed to go that route. And if anything, it just made me go, oh, come on, at the end of this match, because again, you gave it to Randy. I just feel ultimately this is what continues to happen with the Fiend's character, and I don't understand how they want him to come across as this, like, maybe like just as the Fiend, not as Bray Wyatt, but as the Fiend, come across as a really crazy wrestler to bring out in Bray Wyatt, one that like could be like undefeated, like the Undertaker, and only comes out at certain events. And he's been buried. It kind of reminds me of that awful Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins, and just the disappointment I felt from that.
Well, this is the thing. The Fiend should be used as to squash people rather than having a kind of normal match. And I think this is something they've kind of missed the boat on. I thought the visual of him in flames as he walking towards Orton, the Fiend running at Orton and Orton hitting the RKOs, the flames hit him, was crazy. But I'm going, I just hope people don't look at that, especially kids, and go, oh, let's play in the fireplace this year, because that's what they've just done there. And then after the match was over, the commentators are going, well, Orton's definitely won this. And then Randy Orton grabbing the gas can, announcing the Fiend, and then getting the matches, and you're going, no, he's not actually going to do this. Someone's going to stop him. I mean,
you can hear even Samoa Joe getting worked up from all of this as well. And I'm just thinking they're not going to do this.
And then dropping that match and the Fiend going up in flames. I mean, the shot of him burning the ring, and then you see Orton kind of celebrating this. I would say in all my years, apart from Mick Foley coming off the top, that is probably the most shocking thing I've seen.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I was not thinking that they were going to go that far. I can probably admit that a lot of people are presuming or already know that wasn't obviously Bray Wyatt himself being doused on fire. However, just that imagery towards the end of it, and again, we're still in this sort of era of WWE entertainment. Yeah, you just kind of had your wrestler commit murder technically on stage. Like, how do we go back from that? How is Bray Wyatt really supposed to come back from that? And are you really just going to go with this whole, he's a supernatural being, so he can't die from fire sort of thing? Like, this is taking, I feel like it's taken it a step too far in terms of what you're supposed to be doing with Bray as a wrestler now. Where's the outcome? What's the outcome with this? How are we going to get Bray or the Fiend back again? Because surely the Fiend should die from this. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like, they've really dropped the ball again.
If the Fiend just pops up in 2 weeks' time with not a mark on him, then people are going to cry bullshit, and I think that's the problem with that. The thing is, this was completely, it's weird because WNR recently we watched Vampiro setting Sting on fire at the Great American Bash and dropping him 40 feet. The way the commentators reacting, and it was kind of so comedic. You couldn't. This one was so kind of serious last night. Well, serious the event itself.
It's not very sinister.
It was kind of and Orton was just like the biggest knobhead going, because you're going, well, you've won the match. You haven't got that much of a personal issue with him, and yet you do it. The thing is,
is no one gonna, no one backstage gonna actually turn around to Orton and just actually remind him you practically have just committed murder?
Yeah, we're gonna put you under arrest now because that's what happens. And this is the thing,
that's what would happen.
This is saying you get the police round. If Austin got arrested for stunning McMahon, then setting a guy on fire, and like I said back in the day, Kane's arm caught alight and straight away he'd run to the back or wherever it was, or you set a casket alight with the Undertaker in, but you wouldn't see the Undertaker, or you'd think he's in there. You wouldn't actually see the Undertaker getting set alight.
Exactly.
Is this the end? Like I said, the end of the Fiend character. Are we just going to see Bray Wyatt returning as the normal Bray Wyatt? Or, you know, because the Fiend now, that you can't really bring it back now, can you?
Well, I mean, this is what I thought. But then, you know, if we just shortly, real quick, bring up the fact of what we saw on Raw, I now have no idea what to think, and I'm just like, you know, WWE, you've gone from being a sports show to a wrestling entertainment show to now a supernatural horror show. Where are they going with this? And this is my question, because for me, this is not working, and I really wanted, you know, the Fiend to work. I really enjoy him and everything that he's brought. Bray has done such an amazing job with this, but again, I don't know who wrote that ending or decided that it would be good for Randy to win this, but they were wrong in my opinion.
Well, the thing is that, you know, if John Cena was the Batman to Wyatt's Joker, so to speak, and he was the one that made him kind of turn into this in the first place, that, as we know with Batman, he could never kill the Joker. Whereas Orton has not only he burnt down and killed the Wyatt character, but he's literally done that to the Fiend. So why have we given Randy Orton, this got the Fiend character, the most dominant guy in the past year and a half? Why have we sacrificed it to?
Yeah, Randy was like losing to the likes of Drew McIntyre and Edge, and I just think, again, we've just had too much Orton. Like, we've had so many main feuds where he's been in the main picture, and I don't think that it was needed, like him with this win. So for me, I felt like the best thing for him to have done was to actually have a break and lose this match, and have a break and come back a little bit, you know, like in time and stuff, and maybe like feuds would work then. But it just feels like he's just there, you know, and he's starting to feel like he's just kind of forced in our faces. And now, even with this win, like, it's just, I don't know where they're going to go with Randy Orton from here, but I'm also kind of not excited to see where it goes from here with him. So
I would say I'm interested to see what they do with the Fiend character, but I don't really want Orton. Like I said, where can he go from this? Is he going to be in a Rumble match? We get Edge return and they kind of do it like this. Don't have him challenging McIntyre again, obviously, on Raw.
No, I'm done with that.
You know, so it's like what do you do now?
He did need a break. What are they going to do with him now? I really don't know.
That's an interesting thing.
The legends, there's no more legends for him to kill or kick in the head, you know?
That's what I say. He's going to be known as a fire starter now, go around setting the light to wrestlers. Like, without. Actually, I don't want to give him an idea. Actually, no, don't do that.
That idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Retribution, a satellite next week on Raw.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I suppose it wouldn't be a bad thing. Anyway, out of 5 for that main event match.
Yeah, that's good. That's going to be my lowest score. Unfortunately, I'm going to give that a 3.
That's fair enough. I'm going to give it a 3.5. The visual at the end of it will haunt me for a very long time, but I don't know if it's going to be in a good way or a kind of bad.
Agreed.
Anyway, prediction-wise, Brandon went Fiend, WNR went the Fiend, so the final scores were 6-4 to the WNR. We had our revenge, but very well played, friend. Poll, 61% went Fiend. And like we say, we talk about the event as a whole. What was your match of the night? Because I know you went with a couple of 4.5. My match of the night was Reigns versus Owens overall.
I have to agree with you. I was going to say overall it would be Reigns versus Owens. I think that was the highlight. Even though I did score a couple of them the same, I do think that one was probably the top of the 4.5 scores for me.
I think my person of the night will be the Fiend, and when we find out how it was made, whether it will be Bray in the costume itself or whoever the unlucky stuntman was, credit for them to actually be set alight up until the moment. Obviously, they switched it, but that kind of visual of him burning as he's holding Orton was incredible, you know?
Yeah, my shout out is going to go to Kevin Owens because I think he's just, you know, I think Jesus needs to be on his side for this next week. So, you know, Godspeed with him, and you know, I'm hoping that he can maybe come out on top this time around. But if not, we'll see. We'll see on Friday, won't we?
We will indeed. So what is your score then out of 10?
I'm going to give this overall an 8 because I really enjoyed every single match on the card. I don't think there was one that was actually below a rank 3 for me. I think overall, wrestling wise, everyone delivered.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9 just for that case. And I'll kind of look at pay-per-views and I think, is there a match that kind of stood out? And you've got the TLC matches. The tag team match was great. The women's match was fantastic. And you've got that moment at the end with the Fiend on fire, where I think it's definitely. I think the last 3 or 4 months with WWE, they've kind of really worked out how to do shows without crowd and with the Thunderdome. And I think, especially the shows that we've done together, like Hell in a Cell is a great one as well. As far as it's really well put together, and I think TLC is really, really good. So I'm going to give that a 9 as well.
Oh, okay, great.
So just quickly, I want to talk about what happened on Raw because we had the Miz's promo. He had Miz TV and he apologized to AJ Styles about, taking the opportunity and how he wants to be back on top. And the thing about the Miz that I really like, of course, he's very unlikable, but he's having to work hard. And throughout his career, he's probably had to work twice as hard as others because of people his unlikability,
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed his promo on Raw this week. I thought it was, it was really touching to actually see the passion come out from the Miz on that front. And I do think he is one of the harder workers when it comes to the wrestling business. So I do hope that we get to see more from the Miz. I don't like the possibility or the idea of him trying to get back the briefcase and claim that it wasn't put in, but I am ready to see a Miz and Morrison feud.
Well, without doubt, like I said, he apologised to Styles and said both men were robbed because he blew it. He offered Styles a role in the next Marine movie as well, which is quite funny. And then he said, and then he said Morrison cashed it in for him and he thought he should get the contract back. So again, that might be another wrinkle, but it sounds in my head maybe it will lead to like a fatal 4-way or 4-way match, or maybe something a little bit more later on down the road with them,
Yeah.
We then had. Yeah, exactly. I said there's hope. That's what we need. And then Orton came out and said he'd been called a lot of things during his career, but he did burn the Fiend alive. He spoke about the smell of burning flesh. Oh, this is just a nice sit your kid down and kids down at Christmas, and let's talk about the burning flesh and the smell of it in the ring and the voices in Orton's head as he heard the sound of Wyatt gasping through his last breath. Okay, night, kids. What the fuck?
Again, I'm just so done with Orton. I don't need to see him so much.
Well, the lights dropped and then the usual sounds that accompany the Fiend echo, and then we see Alexa Bliss sitting there on the swing set. She said Wyatt built it for her and she invited Orton to play. She speculated where the Fiend could be at this very moment and made some jokes about him being burned. She said Wyatt was home now, but if he ever came back it would be like nothing Orton had ever seen. The lights went out as she stared him straight in the eye. I just hope at the Rumble it's not Fiend versus Orton again. I just hope.
Me too. It was really nice to see Alexa Bliss back. I'm not sure where she had been for the past couple of weeks, and just a bit annoyed that she wasn't kind of still included in this storyline. However, again, I'm really curious to see what they're going to be doing, because I don't want the Fiend to be ruined or squashed, but at the same time, realistically, this man can't come back. Like, he's just been set on fire in front of us. Like, we can't really believe that he's coming back. So it is a question of what are they doing next.
And also on Raw as well, we saw a bit of a mix-up between Keith Lee and Sheamus with McIntyre involved there as well. I mean, what were your thoughts on Raw? I mean, it was quite a drab show, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really. I must admit, I didn't watch the last half an hour of the Raw, so but I did see the clash between Sheamus and Keith Lee, and I don't mind seeing a potential fatal what's it called match between Sheamus and Keith Lee, but I mean, I feel like the storyline's being forced. That's how it is coming across to me so far.
Yeah, without doubt. But like I said, What we saw from TLC leads us to be excited about the new year with what we see now. And of course, on SmackDown, we've got, like I said, the IC title on the line and the steel cage match between Owens and Reigns. So that should be quite fun. But that is it for TLC and our episode today. Of course, our follower of the week is TJ Andrews. You can follow us across all social media, the WNR Podcast on Twitter. Do you want to plug your Twitter and everything like that?
Yep. So I'm Jaxie at Jaxie Scarlett on Twitter, and I'm part of the O Face Wrestling team as well. So they are at O Face Wrestling.
And of course, we're on Facebook and Instagram, the WNR Podcast, across all Google platforms. I'll say that again, across all Google platforms even. Send us email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com, and YouTube, WNR Podcast, with latest clips and podcasts at the same time. And YouTube, to do SoundCloud on your phone, also Stitcher and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Our next episode is the NXT WNR Awards with the Mind of Monty. But I have been James Rowlandson. Today I was joined by the excellent
Jaxie Scarlett.
Thanks for listening, and thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks for listening, and bye.